All right. So let us start the discussion for today. So today what we will do is we will try to see what are the errors or the problems in a computation. And when you say computation, so see precisely I have not written numerical computation, I have just written computation. And that is for a reason, because many of the things that we'll discuss today are not numerical in nature. And some of them may be numerical in nature, but doesn't come because of the fact that we use a digital computer today. So we'll see what comes when. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll go through each of these and try to discuss what are the examples, and then try to see that where exactly the problems is coming with. Okay. So let's start. So the first one. So when we try to compute something, we need to have a proper mathematical description of the system, because mathematics is what we use to compute things, right? So we need to have, so if we may not have a proper mathematical description of the system, which we use to compute, which you can use to compute. See, last time we said that we wrote a differential equation. We have a Euler-Lagrange equation. From that, we get the two second order differential equation, and we try to solve that second order differential equation in analytically and numerically, right? Let's say that we cannot write down these second order differential equations. Okay, maybe we know them, but it is difficult to write down. Then what will happen? Okay, obviously then I cannot use a mathematical way of solving the system. So this is a very primitive type of thing, means that if it hits you, then obviously you will have some error. So you'll approximate the system to something and you will always have some error. So can any of you give an example of this? So what example can you think of where you know how the system behaves, but you cannot write a proper mathematical description? Yeah, go ahead. I mean, see, you can at most be wrong, right? Not nothing more than that. Most of us are
Uh,
wrong most of the times. Yeah,
so
go
like
ahead.
how three bodies move in gravitational, like mutual gravitation.
But three bodies, you can write the equation, right?
So
You
three
may not be able.
bodies are not solvable, right?
That's a different thing. But you can write the equation. You have a mathematical description of the system.
Oh, so like you're asking where we cannot even like write the
You cannot
equation.
even write the equation. Yes.
Okay.
So that's. I mean, if you get hit by that, then everything else falls loose, right? So what about the motion of water? Okay. So how should we actually look at the motion of water? Can anybody tell how should we look at it? I mean, if you don't want to introduce any error, how should we look at the motion of water?
molecular level.
Molecular level. So you should write down the equation. Even it can be Newton's equation of motion. The water molecules, when if you consider the motion of each molecule, they are quite classical. So for each molecule, I want to write down the equation of motion, right? And then it's almost, I mean, it's absolutely impossible because you have so many molecules. 1 cubic centimeter, 10 to the 24 molecules, and then you are talking about a gallon of water, then there's so many molecules, right? So it's not possible to formulate the theory in terms of doing Euler-Lagrange equation for each particle separately. So what do we do?
We model it macroscopically.
So what is that called? Model called?
Navier-Stokes.
Continuity.
Yeah. So the model is called fluid. So we model it as a fluid, and then we have a set of equations called continuity equation, Navier-Stokes equation, etc., to solve for the motion of what we call the fluid elements, right? And obviously, so when you come from the microscopic to macroscopic, you are not now tracing each particle separately. You are tracing what is happening to a bunch of particles. So you have some error introduced to know by this implementation, you are not getting the motion of each particle separately, right? So this is an error which is merely coming because the formulation of the problem is not possible in a closed form mathematical sense. You are doing it with some approximation. So these are errors in formulation. So this is the first thing which hits you. But then we say that, okay, so we don't want to know the individual particles, what the individual particles are doing. So we are happy if we know what the each fluid elements are doing, and all the things that we do. And for the water, I mean, the reason that we'll need to know the solutions for suffices for the fluid particles, but so we don't bother about it anymore. So this example is approximating. Okay, this is an example. Now, if I ask you, does this has anything to do with computation? This is not a problem of, I mean, not a problem with with computation. This is a problem in the formulation of the computation, not a problem because of computation itself. It's not a problem of numerical nature. And not a problem of the computers who are the device that is doing the computation. So this is the first type of thing which one has to keep in mind. But most of the cases you will not even specify it because you have already done that approximation in your theoretical framework. All right, so let us move to the next type of things. So the next type of thing is, so we have an equation now. So let's assume that the first problem is not there. So we have a mathematical description of the system. So now I want to I want to solve that problem, right? So that analytical expression now I want to solve numerically. So I need to have a proper numerical representation of the analytical expression. So this error comes when we may not have an absolute representation of the analytical problem numerically. All of you should be able to give an example for this. So what can be the example? I said all of you should be able to give because we have already discussed it. So that's the hint.
Simple pendulum.
So simple pendulum is, I mean, we have discussed many steps, but which step?
Approximation of
Approximation of sine theta equal to
Larger.
theta.
Yeah.
Sine theta equals to theta is an analytical approximation, right? So this is coming because I have not been able to have an absolute right representation of the analytical problem numerically.
Sir, limit.
So or the differentiation, right? So the differential operator, I had in the expression for the differential operator in analytical form, I have something, but when I try to represent that in a numerical calculation, I cannot do it exactly, right? So example is expressing differentiation. Numerically. Can you give me another example?
So fluid equations.
How?
Sir, even those are difficult. Like
So see, fluid equations also you will represent certain differentials numerically, right?
yes, sir.
Fluid equations are differential equations only. But anything other than differentiation? What if I
Sir,
want to do an... Yeah.
Sir, anything in which we approximate something and
So
get it right.
that's not an example, right? So integration, yes. So integration again is a limit of a sum. And then again, we cannot take that limit. So we do the summation only. So we change integration to summation. So that's also a numerical approximation of an absolute mathematical or absolute analytical representation. So this is coming because of a numerical method. So this is often called the method error. So what does it depend on? So this depends on, see, here we have not even talked about a computer. Whatever type of computer you was using or the person who was using, which is the computer, it doesn't matter. Every time this error will come. Every time you try to represent a differentiation numerically, whatever computer you use, it will still have a problem, right? So this is not a problem with a computer. This is a problem with numerical origin. Okay. All right. So we have gone through two methods, two different types of problems. Let's move on. So where will we go? So the third one is what? So let's say that, so when we are trying to solve these equations, we needed, remember that in the first step itself or the second or third step itself, numerical computation required the dimension of the system and the input parameters. The dimension of the system and input parameters were also required to solve an analytical problem, right? If you want to know the trajectory, you need to know these numbers. Now, these numbers somebody has to measure and give you. they're not like length of a pendulum. Is not some, it's 1 meter if I say, so there is some error in measuring that 1 meter, right? So how accurately these data are available to you will also, so when you evolve it, so the data is available to you with some error, so when you evolve it numerically or analytically, that error will be there in the trajectory that you calculate, right? So how accurately we know about the data. So this data is initial conditions. So I'm writing keeping in mind that I am solving a problem like the second order ODE. If I am solving a ODE, if I am solving a partial differential equation, these will be boundary conditions, right? And dimensions of the system. So it will depend on these. And examples we have already talked about, which are these initial conditions and dimensions of the system. This type of error is often called data error because they are creeping in because of the data. And so what does it depend on? So what does it not depend on? Does not depend on either numerical or analytical method, or computers. Doesn't depend on any of these. So this is also a type of, it's like the formulation error, which is which is there to start with. You cannot do much with it.
So the measurement error and data error is the same thing.
Right. So this is measurement of the data which is coming, which is given to you at the beginning of the computation, right? So when you are starting to solve the problem, you have a differential equation, but that doesn't suffice you to get the trajectory. You need some numbers. So those numbers, if there are somebody has measured those numbers, if there is a problem in that, so that will be carried over.
Yes, sir.
Now comes the two most important things which we'll discuss in more detail. The first thing is that when I have an analytical expression, often to evaluate that analytical expression, we approximate the analytical expression. So this is approximation of an analytical expression. Usually, infinite series to finite places. Okay, so let me ask you. Imagine that you were there at the time of Pythagoras. Okay, and you are asked to calculate sine of say 22 degrees. How will you do it?
write the series and put values and do manually.
It was not there at the time of Pythagoras. That's why I put
Sir,
it there.
Then we
Make a
construct a
triangle and
triangle
solve it.
and then measure it.
Right.
Right
So
angle
you
triangle.
you have to make a right angle triangle with 3 sticks. Make sure that one side is 22 degree, and then measure the ratio of the which stick to which stick, this stick to this stick, right?
Sir, how will we measure 22 degrees?
So 22 degrees you can measure with a protector, right? So in the school days you used a protector and you could measure 22 degrees. You could measure up to 1/4 degree accuracy with a good protector.
So
Remember that
Pythagoras time.
in Pythagoras time it was there, obviously. So otherwise Pythagoras law would not have come.
Okay, yes, sir.
Okay, so that is not very difficult to do. So all that you have to do is you have to make a half circle or a full circle and then break. So how do you do it? So let's ask the question. So what I can do is I make this type of thing and then I take a string and I keep it along this. Okay. And so then I can stretch the string. So this string I stretch, and now I can place it along a scale and make the marking in the equal interval here. Linear can be done, right? And then you place it back there, and then you know that how much, I mean, you can calculate how much is each of these, and in degrees, given the distance from there to there, and that will give you a protector. So that's how you can make a protector. And once you make a protector, you can calculate this. So now that's not how I do it today. As you said that you use this series, right? So use the sine series. And so if I now ask you to calculate sine 22 degrees, how can you use the series to calculate sine 22 degrees?
Sir, we
What
have
will
to convert 22 degrees to radian first.
We have to convert 22 degrees to radian. So let me go from 22 degrees, because the series can be done with anything, to x, and x is in radian. So how will I calculate sine of x? I know the series is, what is the series, by the way? What is the first term?
X minus x cubed by 3 factorial plus x raised to 5 by 5 factorial.
Then you get the idea. And how long does it go? Infinite. Right? So how will I use x to calculate sine x exactly? How will I use this series to calculate sine x exactly? I cannot do it, right? I can do it up to a certain element in the series. If I ask you to calculate it for infinite numbers, it will never finish. So because you have to truncate this series after a certain elements, so these type of errors are called truncation errors. This type of errors are called truncation errors. Yes.
So for sine 22, so can we do this? Like if the angle is large, then we cannot do this, right? We have to.
No, you can still do this. You have to figure out after which term the next term becomes smaller.
Yes, sir.
Eventually it will become smaller because you have a factorial in the denominator. Okay. Sine 22 is not so large, because if you convert it to radian, you will get 6.8 or something. So what is the source of these errors? So is the source a computer? Is this error coming because of a computer? Because you have to do the calculation in a computer. Yes or no?
No, sir.
This, even if I ask you to calculate any way you want to calculate the numerical value of sine x, if I'm using the series, it has to be truncated at some point because it's an infinite series. So it will always come, whatever way you can calculate. Yes, go ahead.
Sir, but in even when we use computer, it can't loop for infinite series. So
No, so that's a property of the computer, all right, but that's not only a property of the computer, right? This is a numerical. This is because you want to calculate the value of sin x using a series numerically, and because of that, it is coming. Even if I sit down and try to calculate, I will get the same error, right?
yes, sir.
Computer also have that error, but it's not directly coming from because of a computer. So this error is numerical in nature. Doesn't depend on, and not explicitly. Explicitly means not only coming. Due to a computing machine. Okay, so let's look at one more. Now we come to an error which depends explicitly because
Sir?
of, yeah, go ahead.
Sir, the previous error was like truncation error, right?
Right.
So another example, could it be that the in computer, like you said yesterday, that not all the decimal digits are stored. So that could
No,
also
so
be truncation error, right?
hold on for a minute. So that's different because that depends on the computing machine, right? So that's
Yes,
why I
sir.
have written it does not depend on the computing machine. And that's the kind of error that we are discussing now. So that even it's not, it depends on the computing machine, but it depends on something more, which is how a number is represented in a computer. Okay. So before I discuss this, I want to make a comment here. So when we talk about numbers, so what is a number? What is the number 1 or the number pi? So these are concepts, right? These are absolute concepts. So what do I mean by absolute concepts? When I tell you that I have one marble with me and there is no error in that one, so that one is an absolute number. That's an absolute thing. The pi, when you say pi is the ratio of whatever to whatever, so that's an absolute thing. Okay. So root over of 2 is an absolute thing. But you can see some of these, say 1, I can write down a number for 1. But for pi, if you ask me to write down, I cannot. Right? I cannot write down pi exactly. I cannot even write down, if I want a decimal system, if I cannot even write down 1/3. If I want to write down it in fraction. So I have to write infinite number of 3s after the decimal place. So these are absolute concepts. There is no error in these. Okay. But then when we try to represent this in a computer, or when I try to represent these in decimals, we always have a finite number of digits with which I can represent. So we always have what I mean by finite number of digits, we'll discuss. So we can represent a number in numerical calculation. So what do you do if you have a number which is larger than, so say my finite number of digit is say I want to keep only 4 digits. So like for the time being, let us write this down this way. Okay. So let's say I want to keep only 4 digits after decimal. So what will I do? So I say that I will round this off to the 4th digit, right? And obviously these two numbers are different. So when I do this approximation, I make some error. So this obviously is called round off error. Okay, so what will this depend on? So it depends on how many digits I can take. Okay, so this is numerical in origin. So this is completely numerical and implementation. Implementation means, so how am I implementing that number when I am doing the numerical calculation, right? But so we said that it depends on how many digits I can keep. Like I have kept 4 digits here after decimal. But what else do you think it can depend on? We have discussed it a little bit in the first class. Hello. So what do you think? So let's say that we have the number half and we want to represent the number half. Okay. And I have only one decimal place. Or I have only one place after the point. I'm giving you enough hint now. So what else will it depend on?
What is
So
the question?
memory.
Memory is how many digits, right? So that's
Yes,
kind
sir.
of dependent on memory. But what else? See,
So what is the question?
the question is I want to represent the number half and I have only one decimal, one place after the point which I will use. Okay. So other than
Sir, it
the number of digits, what else will it depend on?
The number system we are using.
So to what
Like
accuracy
decimal
we
or
need to
binary.
represent the half.
So it will depend on number system.
Yes, sir.
So like if it is a decimal number system, then 1 digit after the decimal point is good enough. But if it's a binary number system, the 1 digit after the decimal will not give you the correct number, right? Okay, so decimal 0.5 will do, but something else will not do. But anyway, so that's the idea. So these are all the different errors that one can talk about. So if you have any question at this point, we'll stop for 2 minutes or 3 minutes and then we'll proceed. The next thing we'll see is that how can we quantify the errors? So we have talked about so many different errors. How do we quantify these errors?
Sir, can you repeat the last point? My connection went off.
So the round of error depends on how many digits I can keep, But you see, when I say digits, so those digits can be decimal digits or binary digits or hexagonal digits, whatever, right? Hexadecimal digits. So how many digits in which number system? So that is what it depends on. So number system and number of digits.
Okay, sir.
Any other question? Okay, so let's say before we proceed further, let's ask the question. When I say that there are 3 digits which my number system can represent, so what do I actually mean? Okay, so for that, we need to discuss a little bit about the idea of significant digits. Okay. Now, as we said, the number 1 is absolute. Any absolute number, like number 1 or even number pi, it has infinite significant digits. Because number 1 is absolute without any error. Okay. But when you represent a number, any representation of a number has a resolution. Resolution means, like for example, if I am representing in decimals and I can only, my resolution can be 0.0001. Okay. So anything smaller than 0.0001, that I will not be able to tell exactly. Okay, so that's the resolution of, so if I have decimal 4 digits, so that's the resolution of the way I am representing the numbers. That also depends on both the number of digits and the number system. If I am representing an integer, we'll see what is the difference between integer and fractional representations in the next class. But if I am representing an integer, then the integer is accurate up to 1 integer. Okay. So I have always an accuracy or resolution. Okay. Now, given a number, so let's say that we have written a number. So we'll do an example shortly. So I want to know how many significant digits are there in that number. The first thing I will do is that I will say that all the digits which are non-zero, to the resolution, so up to the resolution, are significant. Okay, so let's right away start with an example. Okay, so let's say that this is my number, and so this is the number, and let's say the resolution is, let me write this way, 10 to the power 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 to the minus 10. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is how much my resolution allows. Okay. So what do we say? All the non-zero digits to the resolution are significant. So let's underline the significant digits that we have understood so far. So these are all significant. Next, so it's not that only these are significant. Then, so if there is any zero between two significant digits, those are also significant. So which means now these two zeros are also significant because they are between the significant digits 3 and 4. Right? Then, so all zeros, if there are zeros, right to the rightmost non-zero to resolution, they are also significant. So which means now I add one more significant digit. So because this is my resolution, up to this I can represent the number correctly. So this is also a significant digit because this is before the resolution and right to the rightmost non-zero digit. Okay. But what is not significant is the zeros left to the non-zero sig. This is not significant. Okay, so this is not a significant digit. Okay, so this means that if my computer, we have not talked about the how much the computer can represent yet, but if my computer can represent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, then I should be able to 9 digits. Then I should be able to write down this number in my computer with this resolution properly. Okay, so is this is how you define a significant digit. So is this all right? This is often not discussed in many cases. I thought I should discuss it here. It's all right. So should I proceed? Fine. So because I have this number, yeah, go ahead.
So is the decimal the resolution after the decimal part, or we consider digits before the decimal also in resolution?
No, so in the resolution I said that it is 10 to the minus 10, right?
Yes,
so that's
sir.
that's an absolute number,
Yes, sir.
right? So it doesn't matter where, and it has nothing to do with the computer so far. So I said that I will talk about resolution of 10 to the minus 10.
So that many digits you can have after like decimal, basically.
In this case, if I have written the number this way, then I can have that many digits after the decimal place.
Okay, sir.
We will see shortly that we can write the number a little differently.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so which probably you already know. So it's this scientific notation. So here in this example, what is the leftmost significant digit? This is my leftmost significant
One.
digit. 1.
1.
Right. So in the sign, so if I have a number, so let's call this number 0, 1, whatever was it. So the number was 0, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 0, 0, 4, 0. I'm not writing the rest of it because, as you know, they are not significant. So this is my number. So first I identify the leftmost significant digit. Leftmost significant digit. So which is 1. Then write the number in is the following. So this I will write then as 1.21230040 into 10 to the power minus 2. So this is the scientific notation of this number. Okay. Now you see, if I write it this way, so how many numbers do I need to represent this number? How many numbers do I need to represent this number?
10.
No. Okay. So I have this, which is a fractional number, and I have this, which is an integer. So I need a fraction and an integer to represent in scientific notation. This is a fraction, right? And this is an integer. And you can see that if you want to represent positive and negative numbers, so I need here a sign, which is, you can think of it as a number if you wish. Here also I need a sign. So I need these 4 things to represent a number in scientific notation. Okay. This will come back to again and again when we'll discuss the floating point representation. But this is something that one has to keep in mind. And the other thing which I will request you to look at the round off procedure, because most of us are familiar with what is rounding off. So I will not go through it in detail. So like 1 point, if I have this number, how will I round it off to, so 3 significant digits? I will round this off to 1.26, right? If I have a number, say 1.2543, if I round it off to 3 significant digits, it is 1.25, exact, etc. Okay, so this is rounded off to significant digits. Okay, so with these in mind, I will pose a problem at the end of the lecture today, which you will try to figure out. Or let me go through the definition of the how will we define the errors. So this is definition of errors, and then I will ask you to calculate something. Or defining or quantifying the error rather. So say I have an absolute number. As I said, the numbers are absolute have absolute values. The absolute value of the number is, say, x star. and the number itself, the number is x. Number I denote by x. The absolute value of the number is x star, and its representation, or sometimes it is not just the representation. Representation is the first time you write that number in the computer, but then you can compute something with that number and then you get something else, right? For example, last time we were calculating theta as a function of t, so you get the t after, so theta after 5 days. So then it's the estimate of the angular position of the pendulum after 5 days. So we call it estimates. So the estimate of x is this. Okay. So this is what I am talking about is x. The actual absolute value is x star, but the computation estimated is as this x. So that square bracket is the sign for x estimation. Okay. So we call absolute error. Absolute error is defined as delta x star. I mean, this is just the notation. This is x star, the difference between x star and x, essentially. So this is the absolute error. But you say again, it may be possible. So once I write this, so I can then write that x star should be x and within this absolute error. So x plus minus delta x star. So x is this is the estimate. So this estimate is accurate up to that much of error. So that is the way of writing this. But again, when you are trying to do the calculation, you may not know x star exactly, right? Because that is what is going to come out in your computation, right? So if you already knew it, then why will you do the computation? So you may not know it exactly. So because you may not know it exactly, what we always can have is not the absolute error, but the estimate of the absolute error. This so how to calculate this? That we'll see, but this will say delta x star estimate. So this sign is for estimate. Now, in the ideal world, you always want this to be greater than the actual absolute error, because overestimating the error is always good. So whatever you have estimated as x, you are then much sure that you are not giving something completely wrong, right? So then this will be true. Oh, I see that it's already time. So I'll stop here. So this can be equals to as well, obviously. We'll stop here and then we'll define, there is another type of error which is relative error, and that will start from there in the next class. So if you have any question, I will be here for 5 minutes, and if you want to leave, you can leave.
Sir, please repeat the last part.
Yeah. Last part means here.
No, sir, second last.
This one, right? See,
Yes.
I have estimated something. Say let's write some numbers here, then it will be clear. Say x star is 1.256. I estimate x as 3. Okay. So what is delta x star? Let me make it easier for both of us. Delta x star is 1.5, right? But say I have estimated delta x star. So what do I mean by delta x star is 1.5? If you look at this, it means that the actual number I have estimated to be 3, but it can be within 1.5 and 4.5, right? So that's what this means. 1.5 plus minus, sorry, 3 plus minus 1.5. So the actual number can be between 1.5 and 4.5, and it is correct statement because the number is 1.5. But in some way I try to estimate the error in the absolute error, and I say that the error is 1. Okay. So that means then the error is within 2 and 4, right? 3 minus 1 is 2 and 3 plus 1 is 4. So the number I have estimated to be 3, but it can be between 2 and 4. But that's not correct because the number is 1.5, right? Instead, if I said that this is, so say delta x is, I have overestimated the error, and I said the delta x is 2. So then it will mean that the number is between 1, 3 minus 2 is 1, and 5. But that's a correct statement because the number is 1.5. So it's always better to overestimate the error, and it's never good to underestimate the error. So my estimate of the error should be greater than or equals to the actual absolute error.
Okay, sir. Yes, yes, sir.
Any other question? If you wish to leave, you can leave. I will.
Sir, on slide 7.
On slide 7. Yeah, let's go back to slide 7. Yes.
Sir, here, how many significant we need to represent that part you ask?
So how many significant digits do we have here?
Sir, 8 or 10? I'm confused.
No. See, the number of significant digits does not have anything to do with the scientific notation. The number of significant digits, these are the significant digits. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there are 9 significant digits.
Okay.
Okay. So
Okay,
now
sir.
I am representing it in scientific notation with all 9 significant digits here. Okay. If my computer doesn't allow me to have 9 significant digits but 5, then I have to round it off after 4 places in the decimal. Because so I need 5 digits, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have to round it off after 4 places in the decimal if my computer allows only 5 significant digits in that fraction part.
Okay, sir.
Okay. All right. So let's call it a day now. So we'll meet on the next class again.